I just saw Scream 6, and I'm glad to say I enjoyed it. I did have a few gripes with it, but I'll talk about that later. But as Radio Silence Productions' second film in the Scream franchise, it works. Again, these movies don't take themselves too seriously, which makes it fun to watch. I talk about in my Cocaine Bear video about how the film doesn't know if it is a slasher or a drama, but this film knows its place, which is only helped by previous established tropes. Also, if you haven't seen my Cocaine Bear video, go watch it somewhere. The film is fun, and it has some really neat set pieces, like with the convenience store and the subway. I will get into spoilers, so just be warned. The subway scene was able to create so much suspense and paranoia by simply showing Halloween night on an old subway train. The scene is also flashing between two trains, so you have a hard time figuring out where Ghostface actually is. The scene is long and drawn out, which may seem bad, but they do a great job of keeping suspense and the idea that the characters are helpless. The convenience store was another amazing scene, which again used a bunch of tropes from previously established films, not only Scream films. I especially like when Samantha uses a can to distract Ghostface. It kind of feels like the Jurassic Park kitchen scene. Speaking of Samantha, her character is really good in this. I really do enjoy explaining her and then the Billy Loomis plot line that they kind of have going for it that was previously established in Scream 5. I think it balances her nicely and keeps her grounded compared to other stereotypical characters. I did have a couple of issues with the film, though. Despite how cool the first kill was, I really wish we were stuck knowing who the killer was the entire time, kind of like knowing more than the characters themselves. I don't know, I think that could be a cool idea, because I saw it and I was like, oh, this is much different from every other Scream film. Like, we've never seen Ghostface unmasked before the end, like Scooby-Doo type beat, but then they kill him off. And it's kind of just like, oh, I get it now. I also don't truly understand the killing of the original Ghostface in this film, the first Ghostface, who was the college student. I don't understand why they would have killed him. At the end of the film, the cop says, hey, we didn't want anybody to copy our goals and whatever. There would have been no reason to know who the college kid was and that he was acting as Ghostface. I also would like to say I believe the reveal was pretty predictable, unfortunately. The biggest thing that gave it away was the shrine. Now, we don't really get told who the shrine is for, just that it's a shrine of the Stab franchise, right? But there's a throwaway line that's like, hey, how'd you get all this stuff? It's like, isn't this police evidence? And then they kind of just like brush it off, and at that point I was just like, oh, well, it has to be the cop. Another thing that bugged me was there was a lot of continuity issues. One that sticks out with me is the scene where Gale dies. At the end of the film, she doesn't end up dying, but this is her attack scene. And what happens beforehand is Tara and Samantha have figured out, oh, hey, this Ghostface isn't around us. Ghostface is actually calling from Gale's apartment, right? And so it's this like really suspenseful thing where the kids leave to go try and save Gale. And so this happens at the middle of the day, right? It's bright out, the sun's out, it's midday, right? The next scene is pitch black out. It's midnight. It's believed that the two scenes happen like almost at the same time or one after another, right? Like there's no time between, because there's a phone call that Gale gets from Samantha that's kind of like a warning. Now, Gale doesn't pick it up, but it's still a warning that Samantha is trying to send out. And I doubt that Samantha would have only decided to call Gale like 4 hours after they discovered it. I also don't think that they were 4 hours away from Gale. So it was really confusing. It was like, what is the goal here, right? Was it a mistake in editing? Was it just trying to be like, oh, it's dark out now and that's when the killer comes out, right? That was a really big issue that I saw, and it happened more than that, but that was just the most easy to spot. Another issue, I feel like I have a lot of issues, but I still really did enjoy the film. I think I should continue to say that. But yeah, anyway, the other thing was major plot armor. Major plot armor. And what I mean by that is there are multiple scenes where characters should be killed. For instance, Tara in one of the final scenes, right? She gets stabbed in the back whenever she's kissing Chad. And then when she walks away, there's no stab wound. She isn't bleeding. It's almost as if the writers kind of forgot that they had Tara stabbed, because she was stabbed, and then the rest of the final fight scene, like, there was no mention of it, right? She was still perfectly fine, walking around and everything. I was like, wasn't she just, like, paralyzed because she was stabbed in the spine? Like, how was she doing all this? And then, like, the walk-off scene where Sam and Tara walk off, right? There's no wound. The only thing that she has is a cast for her arm, which is like, I thought you got stabbed, not your arm was broken. It's also confusing as how Kirby doesn't die. I mean, she gets stabbed, I think, like in the lower abdomen and like the neck, and somehow she's able to just come back and save the day, I guess you could say. Finally, Sam. I have no clue how Sam doesn't die. She gets stabbed like right here, and it's visible, especially at the end scene, because her shirt, like right here, is all covered in blood, and it's just like, how did she just survive the past like 45 minutes? Because adrenaline can only get you so far, right? She should have been out much longer than how long the perceived time was of the final fight. Again, I don't know if they forgot or if they're just trying to chalk it up to like, oh, it's a stereotype, because all the Scream films are just their gross depiction of like the stereotypical horror film. And so I don't know if they're just trying to be like, oh, yeah, haha, this person gets stabbed 1,800 times and doesn't die, just like the other old classic horror films. But if that's the case, I think that one's pretty weak as a stereotype to paint. I mean, I think they have a lot of other ones, like, oh, the girl screaming and runs up the stairs and tries to like trip over the killer. But anyway, despite how tiring it is to have these over explanations from these characters of how like meta they are and whatever, I think it still works. My only problem would be if they started to take themselves more seriously, and if they did, then it would be really, really annoying. I rate Scream 6 a 7.5 out of 10. I really loved the anxiety that I got from some of these scenes, and I would love to see where this story continues to grow, because technically this is Scream 2, just reskinned, if you will. Please do not forget to subscribe. Please, please. I'm almost at 300 by the time this video comes out. And I would really like to hopefully get like 1,000 by the end of the year. But yeah, for right now, subscribe, like, comment, everything. Yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.